Welcome back to English in the Wild. I'm Sarah, and today we're leaving the park and heading into the office.
Morning, Sarah. To be honest, I've spent half my life in meetings that could have been emails. But if you have to be there, you might as well sound like a human, right?
Exactly. Most learners are taught to say things like, I am in agreement with your proposal, but that's so stiff. Mark, if we're in a meeting and you like my idea, what do you actually say?
I'd probably say, I'm on board with that. Or maybe, that works for me. It's clear, but it doesn't sound like I'm reading from a legal contract.
I'm on board. I love that. It's a great way to show support. But what about when things get messy? Sometimes we need to circle back to a topic or touch base later.
Those are the classics. Listeners, circle back just means we aren't going to solve the problem right now, so we'll talk about it again later. And touch base is just a fancy way of saying, I'll call you.
My favorite survival phrase is, let's look at the big picture. It's perfect for when everyone is arguing about tiny details and you want to remind them why you're there in the first place.
Spot on. It makes you sound like a leader. Another tip for our listeners, instead of saying, I don't understand, try saying, could you walk me through that again? It sounds much more collaborative and less like you weren't paying attention.
That is a game changer. Walk me through it sounds like you're asking for a guided tour of the idea. It's much friendlier. So, Mark, we've talked about being on board, but what happens when you're definitely not on board? In a meeting, saying you are wrong is a total conversation killer.
Oh, absolutely. That's a bridge burner, that is. In a professional setting, we use what I call cushioning. We soften the disagreement so it feels like a discussion rather than an argument.
Give me an example. If I suggest we stay in the office until 9 p.m. every night to finish a project, how do you stop me?
Well, I wouldn't say no way. I'd probably start with, I see where you're coming from, but, or, I hear you, however, it shows I've listened to you before I give my counterargument.
I love that. I see where you're coming from is like a verbal hug before the but. Another one I use is, I have a few concerns about that. It sounds much more objective than saying, I don't like your idea.
Exactly. You're focusing on the concerns or the logic, not the person. And if you really want to be high level, you can say, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
That's a classic. It means you're going to pretend to disagree just to test the strength of the idea. It takes all the personal tension out of the room.
Precisely. It's all about keeping the door open. Instead of, that won't work, try, I'm not sure that's the best approach given our current timeline. It's professional, it's calm, and it keeps the project moving forward.
Okay, Mark, we've handled the big meeting. But what about the 5 minutes before the meeting? You're standing by the coffee machine and your boss walks up. What do you do?
The water cooler talk. For many learners, this is more terrifying than the actual presentation. You don't want to talk about work yet, but you don't want to stand there in awkward silence.
Exactly. I usually start with something low pressure. I might say, busy morning so far? Or, how's your week shaping up?
Those are perfect. Shaping up is a great phrasal verb here. It just means, how is it developing? I also like to use catching up on, as in, I'm just catching up on some emails before the madness starts.
Before the madness starts? I love that. It makes you sound like a team player who is working hard. What about the weekend? Is it okay to ask about that?
Definitely, but keep it light. Instead of a formal, what did you do? Try, get up to anything fun over the weekend? Get up to? That's such a native way to ask about activities. If I stayed home and watched Netflix, I'd say, not much, just kept it low-key. We talked about low-key in our last episode, didn't we? We did. It's one of those glue words that holds English conversations together. The goal of water cooler chat isn't to have a deep philosophical debate, it's just to build rapport.
Right, it's about being easygoing. If you can master these small moments, the big meetings feel a lot less scary.
Sarah, I've just looked at my inbox and I have 50 unread messages. Why does every email feel like a mountain to climb?
Probably because you're trying to write like Shakespeare. I see this all the time with English learners. They start every email with "Dear Sir" or "Madam" and end with "Your humble servant."
Oh dear. In 2026, if you send me an email starting with "Dear Sir," I'll think I'm being sued. And these days, a simple "Hi Mark" or even just "Morning Mark" is the standard.
Exactly. And when we want something, we don't say, "I am writing to formally request a meeting." We say, "Just wanted to jump on a quick call," or "Are you free to sync up?"
Sync up? That's a huge one in tech and data circles. It just means to get on the same page. And if you're busy, you can say, "My plate is a bit full right now, but let's circle back next week."
I love "my plate is full." It's so much more descriptive than "I am busy." Also, when you finish an email, you don't need a formal "sincerely." "Best," "cheers," or even just "thanks" usually does the trick.
What about when you're waiting for a reply? I hate sounding pushy.
Just use the phrase, "just checking in on this." It's a gentle nudge. Or, "just bringing this to the top of your inbox." It sounds helpful, not demanding.
Brilliant. So, the goal is keep it short, keep it human, and don't be afraid to use a few action verbs.
All right, Mark, let's talk about the big stage. Even if the stage is just a Zoom call with 3 people, giving a presentation in your second language is nerve-wracking.
No, I hear ya. The biggest mistake people make is trying to memorize a script.